In today's video, we are making gnocchi from scratch to pair with a beautiful Alfredo sauce. I swear it's fire. Let's go. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of More Seasoning. I am your host, Farnum, and today we are taking it back. Back long ago, like the third upload on More Seasoning ever, I made a pasta dish that was way ahead of its time. And today I'm gonna kind of recreate it, but we're gonna make it even better because we are making gnocchi from scratch. Now, of course, you can make this sauce and skip the whole gnocchi from scratch part if you want, but I promise you, this is gonna be the softest, most pillowy, beautiful, savory gnocchi that you've ever had, and it is stupid easy, a skill set I recommend you all learn. Before we get into that though, make sure you scroll down, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and drop a comment below because I like hearing from you guys. I don't know. I don't really have anything else besides that. I like you. What do you want me to say? So yeah, homemade gnocchi from scratch, super easy, a beautiful Alfredo sauce with some bacon and sun-dried tomato, peas. It's gonna be fire. I actually don't want to say anything else besides watch the B-roll. Let's go. All right, the ingredients you're gonna need for this fire-ass gnocchi Alfredo are russet potatoes, garlic, shallots, lemon, eggs, Parmesan cheese, frozen peas, red chili flake, sun-dried tomatoes and olive oil, bacon or shiitake mushrooms. For the best gnocchi, you need 00 flour, heavy whipping cream, and an optional splash of dry vermouth. All right, so the first thing we have to do is bake our russet potatoes. We want to get as much of the moisture out of these potatoes as possible. So we have to release the steam from the peel, so we're just gonna poke it with a fork like this. All right, just so you guys know, as far as weight, I got about 1 pound of russet potatoes here. It's about 2 medium-sized potatoes. This is gonna make a ton of gnocchi, more than you can eat, but we're gonna freeze the extra. We're gonna put these in the oven, 425 for 50 minutes. We want this to be incredibly soft all the way through, and it's gonna look like this. All right, our potatoes just came out. We're gonna do a fork test to make sure it's soft all the way through, just like this. If the fork goes through, no problem. These potatoes are ready to be turned into gnocchi dough, and it's gonna look something like this. Hopefully that was good, but yeah, this is what our setup is gonna look like. We want a big workbench because we're gonna be making a lot of dough right here. So I've got a nice size block. I could just use the counter, but it's really white and the dough is white, so it might be hard to see. So we're gonna use this big block. I've got some 00 flour, salt, and egg. I've got a sifter for the flour and a potato ricer. Look, I know this thing looks weird and stupid, but in order to make the best gnocchi, you need one of these. Otherwise, I really wouldn't recommend making them because it's not gonna give you the same experience. I will link this down below, the cheapest one I can find on Amazon. I wanna make this as easy as possible for you guys and as clear as possible, so we are gonna punch in on this camera so you guys can see up close just exactly what we are doing with this gnocchi. Okay, so in order to make the perfect gnocchi, we need to reduce the moisture by as much as possible. That's why we poked holes in the skin, we baked them instead of boiled them, and because we baked them, these peels are going to peel off incredibly easy. All right, so we're gonna start by cutting our potato in half. Watch your hands, it might be a little hot. Give it a second if you need, and then we're just gonna slowly and easily peel away the skin from this potato and do not leave any brown bits behind. Go ahead and put your potato meat into a pile. I'm also not sure if potato meat is a real word, but that's what we're saying. All right, so we have our potato ricer. We're gonna add our potato in, and then if it is cooked properly, this should be a breeze and you can squeeze it through. It's gonna look nice and light and airy. All right, now we're gonna take a 1/4 cup of our 00 flour in our sifter, and we are just going to spread it across our workspace where our potato dough will be going. And once we have it evenly coated, we're gonna put our riced potatoes on it, and we're gonna spread that out as evenly as possible. Now we're gonna take another 1/4 cup of our 00 flour in our sifter, and we're just gonna slowly and evenly spread that 1/4 cup of flour across the top of the potatoes until it is evenly coated. Now we're gonna add a 1/4 teaspoon of salt to this and 1 whole egg yolk. Just crack your egg open. You can use your hands if you want. Throw it in the eggshell, whisk it with a fork, and then evenly drizzle that across the potatoes. And these are gonna be your measurements for every pound of potatoes that you have. It's gonna be 1 egg yolk, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and 1/2 cup of flour between the bottom of the potatoes and the top. All right, now you're gonna take your bench scraper and you're gonna fold the potato in on itself, and we're gonna try to distribute that egg and that salt as evenly as possible. So just keep moving the potato around until you feel like the egg is dispersed evenly. And now we're just gonna push our hands in it. Make sure to flour them before you do this. And at this point, we're gonna start to knead the dough. Now, we don't wanna actually knead it, because if we're too rough with the dough and we handle it too long, the gnocchi's gonna get tough and it's gonna lose that pillowy effect that we all love. So for the next 1 to 2 minutes, we're gonna work the dough and we wanna get it into a nice, bouncy, even consistency. I've got another 1/4 cup of flour in my sifter, and I'm just gonna add that as I need when I go. If you feel like the dough is getting moist and it's starting to get sticky, go ahead and add a little bit more flour. Don't forget to add more flour to your cutting board, that way it doesn't stick to the cutting board. And as I said, we're gonna continue to work the dough for the next 1 to 2 minutes. Fold, push, smash, fold, fold, fold. And after about 2 minutes, you should find yourself with a nice springy, solid piece of dough. And we're just gonna take our sifter and add a generous amount of flour to the top of that and slide it into the corner. All right, so we're gonna take our floured dough and we're gonna cut it into quarters with a knife or our bench scraper. And then 1/4 at a time, we're gonna pull it out, hit both sides with some flour, and then we're gonna slowly roll these into gnocchi logs. We're gonna roll these until they're the same thickness throughout, and we're looking for about the thickness of a cigar. Once we get it there, we're gonna cut it right down the middle. We're gonna line them up, and then we're gonna do about 1-inch segments and just go ahead and chop those up. Chop, 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 chop. Put all your gnocchi into a pile, and we're gonna dust it off with the last little bit of flour that we had. Now at this point, we've got our classic gnocchi shape. You can either drop them into the water just like this, or we can give it some characters. So one of the easiest ways is to just pop a hole right in the middle, and that works great for a little crevice for some sauce to get into. Some other options that we have, we can use our bench scraper and make a V formation, and that will allow sauce to sit in here. And the last crevice option that we have is our traditional gnocchi. I have a gnocchi board right here. You can also use a fork, and we're just going to use our thumb, push it down, roll it over, and that is the gnocchi shape that we all know and love. And those are our options for a thin sauce. Now, because we're using Alfredo sauce, we're gonna wanna use the gnocchi shape that we have so we don't overload it with sauce. So we can either do our pillow shape like this, or we can simply roll them into a ball. So we have our gnocchi with the hole, we've got our classic pillow shaped gnocchi, our round gnocchi, our traditional gnocchi, and our V gnocchi. All right, so at this point, get yourself about 10 gnocchis per serving, and we're gonna put those over by the stove, and we gotta finish our prep work. Let's roll. All right, we're gonna finally chop 3 cloves of garlic, cut the butt off, give it a smash, peel the shell off, give it another smash, do some thin cuts, and hit that with a rough, then a fine chop, scoop it up into a bowl. Next, we got our shallot. Cut the head off, then we're gonna cut down the middle very slightly to peel away that first outer layer. We're gonna do slices vertically, then some horizontal slices, cross chop, scoop it up into a bowl. Next, we've got our Parmesan. We're gonna grate about 1 cup of Parmesan on the finest setting, scoop it up into a, nope, never mind. All right, next we got our frozen peas. Ready? We're gonna do, I don't know, a cup of peas, and the only thing we gotta do is, we just gotta warm them up in some room temperature water, and once they're not frozen anymore, drain the water. We're good to go. All right, so at this point, your prep work is done. We're gonna switch the cameras over to the stove. We're gonna cook that sauce up, boil those gnocchi, and get it popping. Let's go. All right, so here we are over at the stove, and this is what your setup is gonna look like. We've got our ingredients for our sauce that we're gonna need. Next to that, I've got a deep saute pan with a few strips of thick cut bacon in there. Next to that, I've got a pot that we're gonna boil our pasta in, and next to that, we have got our fresh homemade potato gnocchi. All right, so we're gonna start with our bacon in a cold pan. Then we're gonna put it on a medium-high heat. The reason why it's a cold pan first is because we wanna give that fat more time to render and release more flavor that is gonna go into the sauce. Also, let's get our pasta water on a high heat, and then we're just gonna put a bunch of salt in there. Da, 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 da. Lid on, good to go. Now I know some of you are looking at me like, Farn, why are you doing the bacon so crispy? Because we're gonna put some of the bacon in the sauce, and then we're gonna garnish with some bacon at the end. And we definitely need some crunch in that pasta, and that is gonna come from our extra crispy bacon, so hold tight. Ow! All right, once we've got that bacon nice and crispy, get rid of that excess oil. We're gonna lay them out on a paper towel. You could just tell, like, the bacon looks different when you cook it from a cold pan. It just cooks differently. That fat renders out, and it's a whole different ball game. And now, if you look in the pan, that's all flavor in there, folks, and that is gonna be the base of our sauce. All right, let that pan cool down, and once it does, we're gonna start with our shallots. We're gonna add our shallots into that bacon grease. I'll let these saute. We're gonna add some red chili flake, get the flavor from that chili in there. After about 15 seconds, we're gonna add in our garlic. We cannot let this garlic burn, so we're gonna mix it around for 30 seconds, okay? Once it starts to get aromatic and we smell all those flavors come out, we're gonna swoop in with that heavy whipping cream. All right, after about 30 seconds with that garlic, we're gonna go in with 1 pint of heavy whipping cream. We're gonna do a couple tablespoons of dry vermouth, optional. And now we're just gonna mix. All right, so at this point, we're just gonna keep this on a medium heat, and we're gonna let this reduce, let all that water evaporate out of there and concentrate those flavors. We're just gonna go ahead and mix this occasionally, and yeah, we're gonna wait for that sauce to reduce, and we'll add the rest of our ingredients in. But we can cut the bacon up in the meantime like this. So you can see at this point, it's been about 5 minutes. That color's starting to change, it's turning into a deeper, almost like an eggnoggy white, and yeah, it's definitely reducing and thinning out. All right, so at this point, we're ready to add the rest of our ingredients. If you look, the sauce kind of sticks to the spoon a little bit more, and if you drag it through the middle, it kind of like separates like Moses. So that means that we're ready to add more ingredients. We'll start with half of our cheese, just to get a good little base. We're gonna go in with our peas. We're gonna go in with about half of our bacon, about a tablespoon of the oil of a sun-dried tomato. We're gonna add in some sun-dried tomatoes. We're gonna add in a couple pinches of salt, some fresh black cracked pepper, and now we mix. Get all those flavors to combine, all those oils. I could even go for a little bit thicker of a sauce. I'm gonna add some more of that cheese in there, probably the full cup. Beautiful. I still got it on a low heat, just keeping things nice and warm, letting that cheese melt. All right, so we only got about 2 steps left, which is really easy. The first is after we boil our pasta, we gotta add a little bit of pasta water to that sauce just to kind of help pull things together, make it silky, emulsify a little bit. And when it comes to these little guys, when we put them in the water, you'll see it takes about 2, maybe 3 minutes. And when they're done, they're just gonna float to the top and say, "Throw me in the sauce." And that's it. So here we go. All right, first batch of these little, second batch. And then we wait. All right, the gnocchi are floating. That means that they are done. So all we're gonna do is we're gonna grab maybe a tablespoon of this pasta water. We're gonna add that in there just for some silkiness. Add a little bit more, maybe 2 tablespoons. Then we're just gonna mix that up. And that starch and that pasta water is just gonna make this silky and beautiful. Let's scoop our gnocchis out. They look beautiful. Our gnocchi are done. Our sauce is done. It's time to put this together in the B-roll. We'll hit it with some beautiful garnishes and get to a different kind of taste test. Let's roll. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the moment we've all been waiting for. The best pasta you may have ever had. Let's just go for it. 3, 2, 1. Baby, our only taste test that matters.
Like so, I'm like, when are you gonna call me in?
The gnocchi is so soft, it's so pillowy.
I've been upstairs for the past hour and a half while he's been filming, and the smell that's just rolling into the room is so horrible. It's so good that it's horrible.
I gotta have more.
This is something that I would actually look up and follow the recipe to make.
Oh my God. The gnocchi are cooked perfectly. A little crunch from the bacon.
This is insane. I gotta get some bacon in this bite.
It's so good. If you're wondering why there's no like other taste testers like we usually do, because I'm kind of like recreating the original video I did in the same outfit back in the beginning of More Seasoning, and I was the only taste tester on the show. And
in the humble beginnings.
The humble beginnings.
Out in LA.
Still, I know, humble beginnings of Beverly Hills. I promise you, making the gnocchi is worth it. Star scale.
I'm gonna give the entire thing a 4.5 out of 5.
A 4.5?
Yeah.
What?
Because you know how judgy I am when it comes to food. 4.5.
What could make it better?
I have no clue. Maybe you should take me to Italy and get me some homemade gnocchis there and we'll figure it out.
Okay, I can't argue with that.
Listen, for making this at home here in the US, this is a 5. But I feel like in general, in the world, we might be able to find something that's a little, so I say 4 out of 4.5.
Okay, I respect that. Respectable. Well, if you want to know what I would rate it on the star scale, it's a 5 out of 5. No debate. And there you have it. The best gnocchi Alfredo pasta you will ever have. If I ever open a restaurant, this will be a signature dish on my menu. I promise you that. Hey,
Or if you have a cookbook.
Or if I have a cookbook. Who knows? We'll see in the very near future. Hey, I appreciate y'all for watching. Make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Drop a comment down below and tell me how beautiful Jacqueline looked in this video. Seriously. Minimal makeup, sweats, sweatpants, hair tied, chilling with no makeup on. I know. That's it. We're out. Love y'all.
Peace.
Peace. In today's video, we are making what did I say? But even better, because we are making handmade. Hold on. All right, so we're gonna start with a few pieces of bacon. Oh, let me see. It's a bit dirty. Let me see. Ow! That's hot. Anything for the shot, man.
Is it over here?
Yep, over there.